Hello YouTube world, my name is Nicholas Montez and you're watching my YouTube channel, The Teenage Movie Critic. And welcome back to our YouTube channel, everybody. I'm so excited to have you all back together again. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a movie ranking. With the release of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, we now have officially 10 Planet of the Apes movies. And today we're going to rank all 10 of them from the worst to the best. I was actually kind of debating on whether to do this list and just rank the Caesar films, really Caesar legacy films, but to be honest, I don't really care because we already know what's going to be at the top and we just get to speed through really 10 through 5. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so I'm kind of going to speed through all of these because I feel like the 4 films are just mainly ones. And Escape of the Planet of the Apes, I just don't know. It was just kind of boring to me, so it comes in last. Get it! And I thought this was a fine movie, but it was alright. And this was the first one to kick it off, and I thought it had some good moments, but I just feel like there were films that were better than this. Now, I feel like with the standalone movies, it started to get a bit better for me, and with Conquest, it was kind of cool. And I thought this was actually a pretty enjoyable film. It had some cool action and really cool explosive stuff, and I thought it was honestly just kind of cool. And this one, actually, I liked it more than most because it just kind of felt similar to what Planet of the Apes feels like. Yes, I think the prosthetics are not the best. They kind of feel like Ninja Turtles-y vibe, but it works for what it was going for. It did something interesting, and it was directed by Tim Burton, so what do you really expect? It was supposed to be weird. Alright, so now we are officially talking about the Caesar franchise, and as you can tell, all 4 of these films are going to be in the top 4, so all these movies are a win. And number 4 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and as this is the first time I'm actually talking about this on my channel, since I recently just saw it, I absolutely loved Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Like I said, last year I watched the Caesar trilogy for the very first time, and I was a huge fan of that, so when they announced that they're making a sort of continuation of this franchise, I was so excited because the idea of a kingdom of apes, of a kingdom run by an ape, filled with apes, sounds awesome, and having that same crew come back. And fun thing about this was actually my 4th most anticipated film of the year, so this is actually the first film I'm seeing on that list, and I thought it actually lived up. What I personally loved about it is the way that they took a story of what if it was many generations later after Caesar died, and you had this kingdom, and everybody used Caesar's words in apes, together, strong, and kind of reverted it in different ways. And in the way you see that, you get some of that emotional stuff that you got in the Caesar trilogy with this fantastic sequence where this village is invaded by these other apes, and it's quite tragic, and you can just tell how Proximus Caesar is just this monster. And some of the other cool things about it, like, I do like the characters in here. Noah is actually a pretty good character. Raka is a good character, which of course, with Noah and Raka, gives a lot of Maurice and Caesar vibes. I do like the human girl in here, and I like they don't focus too much in on the humans of this film. And I do like the way they did the story of Proximus Caesar, though we could have gotten a lot more time to spend with him, as he wanted to get in this vault so that way our apes could be more advanced. Like, yeah, we've upgraded, like, literally buildings are made out of grass and plants and stuff like that. They've evolved so much to where they're speaking, but now they want technology and they want to actually ride tanks and all that stuff. And so it was a really cool experience. Every shot in this movie was gorgeous and believable. All the like big action spectacle was awesome. It was just an emotional ride, and it honestly, it's getting me excited for the next future films. However, it's not a perfect movie, which is why it's in number 4. I feel like that there were some parts that they could have gone further. Like, I actually wanted to see more of this world. Plus, where exactly does that leave for the technology that was in that vault? Who's gonna get it? And what exactly was May trying to do with the communicator? Is she trying to connect to other humans? And what exactly were they looking up at the end? I'm not sure, but... And also, I was not really expecting that... I was kind of expecting that there was this big... Kind of like Wish in a way, where it was this big kingdom. They were run by Proximus Caesar, and, you know, this whole jungle and this whole society was run by apes. But in this way, I think in the way they did it, where you had the apes attack that village in that scene, it kind of did a better job of doing that thing of taking Caesar's words and using it in not such a great way. So I thought this film did a fantastic job, while at the same time, while living up to Caesar's films, it is still a great film, and it's definitely one of my favorite films of this year. If not, something else hopefully will be better. But for right now, it is definitely up there as one of my favorite films of this franchise and this year. You know, I don't have too many thoughts on War for the Planet of the Apes, but because it's just such a bleak movie, I would say in the original trilogy of Caesar films, this one honestly has some of the most tragic moments. And if anything, this might be the most tragic movie of all of them. I was kind of rewatching it a couple weeks back, and man, this movie is dark. I mean, you have apes and gorillas being controlled by humans, but then you also have them getting whipped and damaged and blustered. There's even this amazing scene by Andy Serkis' Caesar where that gorilla is getting whipped and he's like, "Leave him!" Such an amazing sequence, and even kind of gives like flashbacks to the Passion of the Christ, where they're whipping Jesus, and that is just so emotional. Even there's so many. The great thing about this movie is it's able to be so sad and so tense and so emotional, and to the point where you actually feel satisfied when Caesar does help his people, getting them where they need to go, and then he dies at the end. A lot of the shots in this movie feel very cinematic. And even then, I also really like the bad ape character that kind of examines of where exactly things went. I also really liked the way they established the plot line of humans stop speaking because of the disease. And it just examines that stuff in a really cool fashion. The big problem with it, even though I do love the film, I wish there was a more sense of war, where the apes actually battled the humans, and they actually did all this, and we actually had an all-out war between humans and apes. But we didn't really get that, and that's kind of the disappointing part. We don't really get a lot of action in this film. It's more about character and story, but I still think that they did a fantastic job with this movie. I love War for the Planet of the Apes. And easily, this is another great film from the Caesar trilogy. And honestly, at first, when I first saw this one, I loved it, but I was a little mixed on it because I'm like, I was kind of expecting this film to be a lot bigger, but when you kind of think about it, it is actually really good, as it takes place a few years after Rise, and it's the perfect sequel to do after Rise, where you have Caesar make a family. You see the characters that were from the first movie that he established and made friends with, Maurice and Rocket and all these other apes. And then you have these humans come in. They're trying to help. They're not trying to kill the apes. They kind of want to help them and work with them. But then you have Koba. They take Koba and make him one of the best villains, as he was experimented on by humans, and so therefore you understand why he does not want to work with humans. But then again, you also understand why Caesar isn't going to do that, because on one hand, he knows the humans are bad in most cases, but he also knows the good in them, and not only that, but this film also, because of what we saw in the first film and him leading the apes to escape, this one also just puts him to the test of being a great leader. That's the thing that I've heard about this movie the most, and why everybody loves Caesar so much in the last 10 years, is because he's a great leader that, even though humans are bad, humans have done bad things. I was raised by a human, and I was raised by a good man. And I know better to not go on full-out war on humans. And that's what makes this movie so compelling, and it can also be emotional. And I think that's why this movie works, but it also just has a lot of fun with apes riding horses and fighting tanks. That's just awesome. So to me, it just balances a lot well, but it's not my favorite Planet of the Apes movie, which is the one I'll be talking about now. And for me, this is easily the Planet of the Apes movie that I have connected with the most times, where they kind of start as they take these apes that are normal apes. This movie reminded me a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Rocket's backstory, except Rocket's backstory was a lot more tragic. And he was, not only was he experimented on, but he was tortured, he was obliviated, he got his friends killed, but this story, and in some ways Rocket's story is about becoming a leader and learning to love and to accept himself. This movie is about an intelligent ape who has intelligence. His mom dies, and James Franco adopts this little ape, and he gains intelligence through this, and so far, it creates all these great sequences where he's so intelligent, he's so smart, to where James Franco's dad that is suffering from Alzheimer's, he's getting verbally attacked, and so he goes in and attacks the guy, bites the finger off, and then gets put into this monkey ape place, and they leave him there, and then he's put into confinement of apes, where he's never really been around other apes before. And you gotta remember, he's an intelligent ape. He's not like normal apes. All these other apes, they're very crazy, they're very wacky, like an ape is. And so when you actually kind of craft it, and some of that serum kind of sprays on them and stuff, he starts to see what the apes are doing of what these humans are doing to the apes, and he realizes this is not really right. I have to help these apes, and we're going to escape, and we're going to build our own future together. And you get this big brawl-out war on San Francisco, and the whole city getting destroyed. Apes escaping zoos and all of that stuff, and even, to me, this movie is the epicness of it, as you have apes flipping over a truck to block the shooting of the police, and then them riding horses to fight the apes, to fight the police, and then a gorilla goes into a helicopter, and it's so fun but also emotional because the ape dies from the fire, and even in the end it feels like a satisfying story, though you want more, because you realize Caesar doesn't need humans. these are his people and he needs to lead them because he's intelligent. And I thought that was a great story. Plus, the score was amazing. It's emotional. It is a great start to this franchise. And it's just so good. And I loved everything that they did with this movie. And yeah, that's my ranking of the Planet of the Apes movies. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.